stuff.
He misses it.
Studies like, it's a 100%. Getting back. Signing it again.
Thank you, and welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting for tonight. I'm Councillor Steve Robinson, and I will be the chair tonight. We'll begin by reading the land acknowledgement. On April 15th, 2024, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. So I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5:02. And I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Quinn, that the April 15th, 2024 Special Committee of the Whole meeting agenda be approved, circulated. All in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest in general nature thereof? Seeing none. Don't have any approval of minutes. We have no delegations. I believe there are some directors' reports and...
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have two this evening. The first one from Director McMahon.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of council. Yeah, just a quick update this evening. We heard from representatives from Service Line Warranties of Canada over the last couple of weeks. They've been working on preparing their spring mailing campaign. And I just wanted to advise for folks watching at home here this afternoon that the spring mailing will be going out on April 19th and should arrive at properties throughout Smiths Falls over the week of the 19th. Or sorry, 19th would be, when is the 19th? Today's
4 days.
4 days, yeah. So next week at some point they'll receive those notifications in the mail. So just a bit of a recap, the Service Line Warranties of Canada has been supported by the town of Smiths Falls to offer it to our residents of Smiths Falls. And it's basically a protection plan that residents can sign up for through Service Line Warranties of Canada, which will give them, the plan itself will cover us up to a certain amount. I believe it's $5,000 for a service call for water services and up to $8,000 for a service call for the sewer laterals coming into homes. So if residents are experiencing any issues with their water service or their sewer service, they can sign up for this plan and they can get coverage through Service Line Warranties of Canada for these costly repairs. It is not mandatory that when they receive the information in the mail that they sign up. It's certainly voluntary. People at home ought not to feel pressure just because they get something in the mail from Service Line Warranties of Canada that has the town corporate logo on it. That's a marketing agreement that the town has with Service Line Warranties of Canada to give the mailing a little bit of validity, if you will, that it has the town logo on it, so people don't simply read it and throw it in the recycling bin. So, but like I said, it's not a mandatory program that people have to sign up for. It's certainly voluntary if they feel that there's value in the program. Any questions from council on that? No, okay, that's my report today. Thank you.
And next up, we have Director Clark.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to provide an update on an issue that I'm sure everyone is aware of that occurred at the Memorial Community Center on Friday evening. So there was a small area of ice in the Goldie Crease that was discovered on Friday evening to be in less than ideal playing condition ahead of the scheduled puck drop on Friday evening. Normally, this wouldn't have been a major inconvenience, but the Bears are in a playoff position, and this is our junior A team, so we had an impact on a game that was scheduled on Friday evening. The ice was soft in this particular area, and as I'm sure you're probably all aware, soft ice can cause injury to players during the course of a mountain game. While the area was very small in size, it was an area of high traffic on the ice surface, and so additional precautions were taken to ensure the ice was in above optimal condition prior to sanctioning use again. The problem was fully resolved at about 8:30 p.m. on Friday evening, and the ice was of sufficient quality to facilitate safe play at that time. However, the game had already been canceled. I would note that there were no issues with rentals on Saturday, and the game went forward on Sunday. There were several precipitating factors that contributed to the issue. High humidity, as we experienced last week, and climbing temperatures outside have a direct impact on our ice surface on the inside. The hotter and more humid it is outside, the harder our plant has to work to keep things cool. This was compounded last week by the fact that one of our major facility systems is currently operating at 50% capacity. This combined with heavy use during the day on Friday did not allow us to properly identify the full extent of the issue with enough time to act and react to resolve the issue ahead of the scheduled puck drop. I think it's worthy of note to say that both the start and the end of the seasons are particularly challenging times of year to make artificial ice in arenas. It is not unheard of to experience issues of this sort at this time of year, however, as temperatures climb outside. That said, we take ice quality very seriously, and in particular the safety that results of having poor quality ice. So we're working to ensure this sort of issue doesn't happen again in the future. To this end, our operations supervisor is working with our contractors to rectify the issues with our dehumidifier and the rooftop units as quickly as possible. When these units are repaired, the outside temperature and humidity will have a significantly less impact on our ice surface and the quality. Further, we have decreased the program fluctuation of the ice pad temperature. We have an occupied and an unoccupied mode. There's a couple of degrees difference. We've dropped it right down so that we can be ahead of, the pad doesn't have to cool. It remains at a more consistent overall cooler temperature throughout the day. Operators have also increased the number of ice thickness checks throughout the day. And at this time, we're going to keep on the high side of recommended specifications in the event it's easier to shave than it is to add. Operations staff and department management are reviewing the logbooks to better understand the identifiable trends. All of our information is logged on a daily basis and several times throughout the day. And so we have a couple of years of trending data. We've looked back into some of the concerns that we've had previously, and there is an identifiable trend of humidity in particular and rising temperatures in the outside when we do struggle to maintain ice temperature on the pad. So we're trying to find those trends and be better at predicting potential issues. So we're looking ahead into the weather reports just to make sure that we can be on top of it in the future. In addition to the foregoing, previously I instituted a requirement for all arena operators to receive at a minimum the industry standard basic arena refrigeration training. All but one of our operators is currently certified. This is a requirement for arena staff that's allowed us to level up on the skills so they can identify these issues ahead of time. Our staff is currently fairly young. They've only been with us about 6 months. Actually, this week is their 6-month anniversary. They haven't yet been through a season change like this, and so this is an opportunity, an unfortunate opportunity, but an opportunity nonetheless for them to learn how to identify issues and be better prepared to address them in the future. I would also note that our lead hand is currently pursuing his certification as a trained arena refrigeration plant tech, which is a best practice in the industry. We are, in addition to that, embarking on an overhaul of our regularized maintenance requirements for building systems so we can better understand the annual maintenance that's required, so we can again get ahead of any of the concerns. If our dehumidifier had not been offline, we wouldn't have had it wouldn't have had such an impact. We're also working to develop, as part of this, a more comprehensive annual repair and maintenance program, and we have a bit of catching up to do. So I would, on behalf of my department and myself, wish to express the appreciation to the operators and lead hand for their work on Friday evening. Everybody was very stressed and they were very concerned. They worked their hardest to get the game back on. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it in time. And I want to express appreciation to the Bears organization for their patience and flexibility as we work to reschedule their game, which they incidentally won on Sunday. And we know that this was an inconvenience for players, fans, and the community, but we are committed to ensuring that we make sure this doesn't happen again.
Thank you. Any questions?
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Thank you. All right, moving on. We have no committee of the whole consent reports. So we'll go to priority issues reports, 9.1. The award of tender for the elevated water storage tank report with Director McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so the report that I have here this evening is the award of the water, we'll call it the water tower. I know in the report I drafted it as the elevated water storage tank, but let's keep it simple. Let's just call it the water tower for purposes of this report. So as we know, some time ago, we commissioned J.L. Richards to complete a municipal class environmental assessment to look at the capacity requirements and the preferred location for a new water tower in town, understanding that our existing water tower is around 100 years old, it's aged, it's undersized, it doesn't provide enough fire flow nor system capacity to serve our residents as we grow and expand in Smiths Falls. In March of 2023, we commissioned EVB to complete a detailed design and tender package in anticipating tendering the project this spring. So back in March 7th, we issued the tender for a new water tower. That tender was issued or was posted for about 3 weeks or so. And not surprisingly, we had one proponent out there bid the work. We knew going into this that it would more than likely be Landmark Structures Incorporated. They seem to have most of the work. It's not like a general contractor that you would think of that there's a bunch of them out there. There really is only one, and we knew that going into this process. So nonetheless, we had the one submission from Landmark, and they provided us a price of $9.496 million, excluding the town's net HST. Landmark has designed and constructed over 1,000 water towers, both within Ontario and throughout North America. They originally originated in Ontario, and they are the industry's leader in water storage tank design, and they have proven expertise in the business, and both in Canada and the United States, like I mentioned before. And not only have they worked in Canada and the US, but they've also worked on a global scale in other continents. EVB have done a thorough review, analyzed their submission to ensure that they've met all the requirements of the tender process. And I'd like to advise council that they certainly have met all the requirements for this project. So a couple of options to consider here this evening is award the contract to Landmark Structures as they provided a comprehensive tender submission outlining their understanding of the work. Like I said, they're very well versed in the work of construction, not only constructing water towers, but designing water towers as well, which wasn't the assignment for them to do here. It was simply to provide a price to construct and commission a water tower. So that's one of the options. Award it to Lakeshore Landmark. And the second, which is not recommended by staff here this evening, is to retender in an attempt to solicit additional interest in the project from other proponents. And why I say that's not recommended this evening, because I feel as though if we were to go back out to market to try to solicit additional interest in it, it would certainly result in the same thing. It would be Landmark coming back with their bid submission. When we originally budgeted for this project, we had included around $2,335,000 in the 2023 budget to get money there set up in a reserve account for this project. Try to spread the costs out over a number of years. 2024, we added $2.32 million, and then in 2025, we're anticipating adding another just in excess of $5 million. That rounds out to what we'd expected this project to come in at, $9.8 million. So all in all, there'll be a surplus at the end of this, assuming that we don't get into any issues with installation or anything that pops up that we're not aware of through the design. But like many construction projects, the work is subject to additional costs should they arise. So I would suggest that the difference between their bid price and the money that we're budgeting for this project at the end of 2025 to bring it to 9.8, we maintain that same budgetary number to make sure we have a little bit of contingency built into it. So with that, I'll stop talking and take any questions from committee, should there be some.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you. Thank you, Director McMahon. I support your recommendation. And I guess no surprise for many of us that we had one bid on this. We have talked a couple of times about the design of the water tower, and I was on Landmark's website. It doesn't appear to be many choices. A water tower is a water tower these days. Interestingly, I did see that they have options for storage, offices, even fire departments in the pedestal. Will we have any say over how this water tower looks, or is it a standard package?
Through the chair, it's a standard package, again, designed by EBB. There is an opportunity within the, we'll call it the column itself. So we got a very large diameter column that starts at ground surface and goes up. And then we've got the bowl itself at the top that houses the water, the 5,050 cubic meters of water storage above grade. So you're right, that the diameter of the column itself is quite large. It could accommodate some offices, but it's not to the point that we're going to house public works staff there or something to that effect. And have to keep in mind too that we've only added enough heat in there to keep the room temperature like above 0. It's certainly not outfitted and packaged to be able to accommodate full-time office space for staff. But there's room there for storage, for equipment and chemicals and that kind of thing, but not offices at this point.
I have one follow-up question. So have we thought ahead to signage and lighting and the opportunity to have the town logo on it, or?
We have not part of this process. It's something that we can certainly look at after the fact. I would suggest let's get it built. We're looking at probably having it constructed and in service, or ready to go into service in 2025, towards the end of 2025. So that's something we can certainly consider in the 2025 budget if that's council's interest, to light up the tower and put the town of Smiths Falls logo on it. But it wasn't part and parcel to this design.
Mayor Panko.
Thanks, Director McMahon. So the 5,050 cubic meters, I don't want to go back to the water tower study we done a few years ago. That was for projecting to look after our needs long term. I think when we looked at capacity, what's the capacity of the current tower? I mean, how much bigger is this going to be than the current tower?
The current tower's it's around 900 cubic meters, so 6 times bigger, probably
Yes.
about 6 times bigger.
Okay. And I think
So-
the forecast was our population for at least the next 50 years. I think we should be able to meet that if I'm not mistaken. From a financial standpoint of the money that's planned for 2024 and 2025, 2024, I guess, counting the 2023 that we put away, is that including the grant, what, 3.6 million I think that we received, or is that money still available for 2025?
Good question. So 2024, our tower costs that the monies we put away were 2.32 million. And then the grant funding was, we'd allocated between 2023 and 2024 about 2.8. I believe the grant funding is incorporated in.
So largely used in 2024, I guess. So the expense next year will largely be, I guess, on us.
Right, yeah, we've already submitted some invoices to the Investing Canada Infrastructure Program, the Green Stream, and we've been reimbursed those funds. So there are certain items that are eligible and those that aren't, so we'll submit a large portion of the eligible funding will be submitted in 2024 with the balance in 2025, but it's primarily associated with the construction costs and some of the engineering design. So we know that the tower itself, back in the day when we made submission, we could apply for project up to $5 million with paying our portion costs. I'm not sure what the workout was in terms of the federal funding and the provincial funding right off the top of my head right here. But we, back in the day, we suspected that we didn't know we would be pressured with the inflationary costs that we're experiencing here now. We honestly thought the tower costs would come in at around 6.8 million back in the day, and now we're looking at almost a 50% increase from that. So we have $3,666,500 in funding, with the balance being funded by the town.
Okay. And final question, just when will construction begin?
I'm not quite sure. I'm thinking that Landmark, as we were working through this tendering process, they were aware that we want to get going, and I know that we're in the queue. I suspect that we'll be shovels in the ground here this summer. But I'll follow up with EBB on that and Landmark to find out exactly when, and I can report back on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on. Councilor McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Paul. I'm wondering, is it a cylindrical or a spherical design that they're proposing?
Spherical, yes.
Spherical, cool. And my second question is with the contingency. I'm a little nervous with the 1% contingency. Is there a reason that the number's lower on this project based on the total project cost, or what's the justification for the lower amount?
Well, it's simply the balance of what we had budgeted and what their costs came in at. We don't expect there to be anything out of the ordinary on this project. But, matters could arise as we work through it. And I guess, if there's anything large that in terms of costs that come out as we work through this project, we'll certainly come back to council for consideration. So I guess at the time when we built the budget, we didn't really necessarily know where things are going to land when we budgeted the project. We had our sneaking suspicions that they'd come in close. I'm happy to see that they came in under budget. But if anything arises, like I say, through construction, council will be, we'll consult with council and develop a game plan going forward. But EVB nor myself or Jason Barlow for that matter, we don't anticipate. We have a really, really good design. EVB did consult with and work with Landmark through the design process to come up with the package that we put out to tender. They're the experts, like I say, they do a lot of design as well. So just to make sure that we weren't missing the mark on anything. So I'm confident that there shouldn't be, I would say shouldn't, there's always a risk, but I'm confident that there shouldn't be anything largely arise out of construction that would impact the budget to a significant degree.
Sounds good. And especially since we're not comparing different tender bids, there's not if it's going to go over, it's going to go over. But okay, thanks.
Councilor Brennan.
Thanks. Yeah, of course, I support your recommendation. And just looking at the financials, when we add in the trunk main, we're looking at almost $25 million. And what it sort of concerns me is when we built the water treatment plant for the arena, we had great support from the upper tier. We got paid a third of the cost, basically. And in this case, we're not even close to that. So with the trunk main, there is absolutely no grant funding allocated at this point. Do you foresee something happening there? Because of course we're doing George Street, there's support for that. And so when we do the trunk main, when we're in like 24 and 25, or we're in 24 now, but surely we can get some grant funding for some of that, I would hope. So I support the recommendation. I'm really, it's got to be done, and we need help with this. That would be my message to my friends at the province and the federal government.
Yeah, so through the chair. So with the trunk main project, there is the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund, which the grant closes on this Friday, April 19th. So that, for all intents and purposes, that grant application is completed. I've been working on it for the last couple of weeks with staff. couple of T's to cross and I's to dot on that, but we will get that grant in by the end of the week, certainly by Friday, the very latest, if not sooner. So that particular grant we can apply for funding in excess of $35 million. So they'll what is the funding? It's 77%, I believe, from the province, with the balance coming from the municipality. So that project could be largely funded by the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund grant.
Yeah, through the chair, I'm not saying it to you, I'm saying it to the people that are listening to me talk, that this is a major project we need help with. Through the chair, just one other question. The other question, of course, that I've been thinking about, and we've probably all been thinking about, is the water tower that is existing down there right now. And what would you think we're going to be doing with that? I.e., are we going to be taking that down? What would the cost be? Could you recover the cost from the metal that's there? Like, that's a huge structure, iconic in town, as we all know. We can see it from all over town. So I know that there's maintenance concerns and engineering concerns for leaving it there empty. But that's something I think we'll have to consider going forward. Of course, we're building a new one, so this one's not going to be in service. And is it going to be there as a landmark or not?
Yeah, I think I heard a question there.
Yeah.
So we still have to come back to council with a recommendation for what staff would consider would be the best approach with the existing water tower. I think we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
For now, Councillor Brennan, there'll be some discussion at the council table with respect to whether or not we want to maintain an asset that isn't in service to, we're going to have a new water tower. Do we want to keep this one in service as a landmark?
Yeah, I guess, and through the chair, just one more comment. I know when years ago when JL Richards was here, my question to them was, is there any reason from an engineering standpoint that thing can't sit there? And I think the answer was no, but there was a but behind that, which was the ongoing maintenance of it and that sort of thing. So we look forward to that, but we'll keep that in mind as well as we go forward. Thanks.
Councillor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for the report and the work on this, Director McMahon, and I too will be supporting the recommendation. Just could you give me an estimate of how long this tower will be viable and some estimate of the ongoing maintenance costs over the lifespan?
Yeah, sure. So the fixed lifespan on an elevated overhead storage tank by the manufacturer, so from Landmark, they're suggesting the tower could be in service between 80 and 100 years. I would think we would be able to reach 100 years with annual and preventative maintenance, get a very robust maintenance plan developed and put forward to make sure that we can achieve that 100-year lifespan. The maintenance is mostly related to the coating of the interior of the tank and the exterior of the tank. Obviously, it's a composite tank above grade. We want to make sure that it's got proper coating on it so it doesn't deteriorate over time. So there are some suggestions here from the manufacturer and from EBB that every 3 to 5 years we should be looking at an inspection and doing spot repairs to a cost of $5,000 to $10,000 on a 3 to 5 year frequency. Every 15 years we should be looking at exterior coating, exterior coating inspection, and then spot repairs and overcoating. This is where the costs get a little bit more exorbitant, if you will. We'd be looking at $300,000 to $400,000 every 15 years. So again, this is something through our asset management plan that we should be putting money away in a reserve policy to make sure that we can, that's a significant investment, $300,000 to $400,000, if we weren't to plan for it ahead of time. Every 15 to 20 years, we should be looking at replacing the chlorine analyzers, around $30,000. Every 20 to 25 years, we should be looking at interior coating replacement of the interior of the bowl. large investment there as well of 600,000. Again, these are estimates based on today's dollars, so they might, you know how inflation goes, so it might not be representative down 25 years from now. But that's where asset management kicks in. We have those inflationary costs kind of built into the software. And then every 30 years, we should be looking at exterior coating removal and replacement to the tune of $750,000. Again, these are high-level numbers from EVB and Landmark, but Landmark has experience in the business, and so I would think they would be fairly representative of today's numbers. Annual operating costs, not hugely significant. We'd be looking at, you know, our communication service from Bell for alarms and for phone lines and whatnot, around $100 a month, and for hookup to our SCADA system. Hydro costs, roughly around $150 a month, $2,000 a year or so. And then chlorine for chlorination, similar to what we're doing right now, we'd be looking at $500 roughly a month. So that would be built into our operating budgets moving forward, whereas the previous numbers I mentioned for maintenance could be built into a reserve policy, money put away every year. So that's something that will be coming back to council with when we start to develop capital budgets moving forward.
Thanks very much for that. And it's good reminder about a robust asset management plan, because this is an investment long-term. We will be spending money. We should be, we must, to protect that investment over the lifespan. One unfair question that just came to me. Is this, we have regular requirements that the province imposes on us on our bridges, how they have to be inspected and reports, how we maintain our roads. Does the province have similar guidelines for water towers? And I'm just thinking about, the only thing going to knock that down is a pretty big earthquake or something. The province, is there a guideline or a standard that we have to, and I'm assuming we're meeting it?
There would be manufacturers' recommendations, best practices, but in terms of Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Parks guidelines, I'm not aware of any.
Okay.
I can certainly follow up with staff on that. But like I said, the maintenance frequency for recoding and whatnot and inspections, that came from the manufacturer and through EVB and their experience with water towers, not necessarily from any ministry guidelines per se.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Councillor Quinn.
Thank you. You're the chair. I think most of my answers or my questions have been answered, but I think you have a lot of knowledge here, like you're listening to the manufacturer. They're laying out the guidelines. They're telling us what we should be doing to maintain this. So I think you've got a good input there. And just as I was listening, I was thinking to myself, I wonder what they said 100 years ago about the water tower that we have now. I wonder what they said then, how to maintain that. And it's been maintained. It's lasted 100 years. So the new one will be made of different quality of material, much better quality. So I see no reason at all why it can't be still going in 100 years, which is wonderful, as long as we listen to the manufacturer, and they're the people that are building. So they're the ones that have the knowledge, and that's what you will do. We'll set up a program like that and listen to them. And I definitely am supporting this. And the cost of maintaining the old water tower, or what we should do with the old water tower, I know that's very important, but I think we need to be focusing on the new water tower, get it underway, because we need it. We know the old water tower can only stand there and last for a short period of time. I mean, it's proven that to us. So I think worrying about the new water tower is far more important at this day and time. And we'll put the old water tower still there. We need to know what we're going to do with it, but I don't see it should be taking top priority right now. Let's work on what we have. And thank you, Paul, for all your work.
Through the chair, if I could, I just wanted to add that it's important to note that the existing water tower obviously needs to stay in service till the new tower is commissioned, right? So we've got some time to discuss what happens with the old water tower. We've got some time from a staffing perspective to do a little more further investigation and talk to our colleagues in engineering firms, perhaps EBB, just to see what their recommendations are. And they can put some costing together in terms of any rehabilitative work that needs to be done to the existing water right now when it's decommissioned and the water taken out of it. What that means when the time comes, if we decide that we want to maintain it and keep it as an asset. But I just wanted to note that it would be considered an asset at that point. It would be something that we would have to maintain going down the road, regardless of whether or not we're using it for an elevated water tower tank. It's still an asset if we decide to keep it that we got to maintain, and perhaps not in perpetuity, but for as long as it stands. So again, I just want to stress that if I could have any influence on that debate, if you will, with respect to the water tower, that from a staffing perspective, for public works and utilities, we have a lot of infrastructure that's in need of repair, and I'll leave my opinion to myself in terms of the water tower and what I think council should do with it. There'll be a recommendation come from staff in the future, but I just wanted to make that point that we've got roads, we've got bridges, we've got lots of linear infrastructure under the ground that's in need of repair. That's going to tie up quite a bit of funding in the coming years if we keep as we've been doing for the last number of years in terms of investment into our infrastructure.
Thank you. I too will support the staff recommendation. Any questions I may have had that I answered a couple of times over. So looks like we've got our direction. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next is the High Frequency Rail Project Support Report with CAO Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this item is much less expensive than the previous one, at least for the taxpayers of Smiths Falls. So we've talked on numerous occasions about this exciting legacy project that's being carried forward by the federal government through the High Frequency Rail Office. And so at a previous update, I had indicated that the work is out for RFP right now and will be till midsummer. The High Frequency Rail Office intends to, or have advised us, they'll be in a position to make a decision later this year or early next. So we felt it was time to go on record and extend your wishes for a station in Smiths Falls, if that's the wishes of council. That's certainly my strong recommendation. And so the report in front of you is a draft of a resolution that would do two things. It would signify to the federal government that we support the project and we want a station here. It would also, I would hope, enlist our neighbors to support it as well, because this really will be, in my view, a regional asset for the whole of Lanark, Leeds, and Grenville, which incidentally is a population of about 180,000. And if one were to compare that to the population served from the 6 locations that were identified as needing or requiring a station, we would be comparable to 2, if not 3 of them. So I think we can make a compelling argument that our commuter shed is sufficient to support a station stop in Smiths Falls. There are other logistical reasons that advantage that Smiths Falls has, the intersection of the 2 rail lines, so that's an obvious one. So anyway, I offer this as fodder for discussion and hopefully approval. And we'd like to send it off, if you're in agreement, to all the municipalities, lower, single, and upper tier in Lanark, Leeds, and Grenville.
Councilor Miller?
Yeah, I absolutely support this. This would be a huge economic driver, and I know it's been underway for a long time, and fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Councilor McKenna?
I too support the creation of this resolution and sending it out. I will add that this came up in discussion in our Smiths Falls for All committee, the need for both, we discussed both the feasibility study for transportation for Lanark and Smith Falls. And then we discussed high speed, and we talked about the benefits for a diverse and a vibrant community, not just in Smith Falls, but around her. It's so much more than economic. It's about welcoming people from across the globe to our community in and out. And then in the climate action work group that the mayor and I also sit on for Smith Falls, we talked about the need for much more less carbon producing. And so that committee as well, although we didn't recommend anything, we have talked about the benefits of such a thing. So just to let you know that the benefits run deep for this. So I'm 100% behind it.
Thank you. Mayor Panko.
Yeah, obviously very supportive of this initiative, and going back, we had conversations starting with VIA officials going back, I think 2016. And I think the early forecast, the trains will be up and running by 2024. So I guess the scale and scope has changed, but I guess nonetheless, I guess when you think of something of this magnitude, 1,000 kilometers of new rail line, dedicated track, to our understanding, any conversation, no level crossings would all be above or below grade. So it's a huge undertaking, but one obviously will serve the country and the region for centuries. So very supportive, and I think it's especially markedly important that our broader partners in the region get on side. And I mean, there's been discussions over the years where they've indicated that there's obviously a possibility of Smith Falls being a station stop, but right now we've got to, I guess, get their attention to make sure that we're not forgotten. And the consortiums that are part of this bidding process will be putting together their proposals, which will go to the federal government, and as CEO Morris indicated, by later this year, and probably with this time next year, we'll play some understanding of how this is likely going to roll out. So I think there's power in numbers, and obviously from an environmental standpoint, from an economic standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world that this station be here to serve the broader area. So happy to support it and happy to advocate for it.
Thanks. Councilor McGuire.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I think it was a historic mistake when the passenger station moved from the community that was built around it to the outskirts of town. So I fully support the motion tonight because I wouldn't want to see that mistake made again.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. It looks like it's unanimous, so
Excellent.
that'll be moving forward.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to take a very short time, I hope, to go into closed session. I need a move by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Miller, that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls, as provided in Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, as amended, move into a closed meeting at 5:44 p.m. To review in-camera minutes for adoption.
Try not to do that.
No, adjourning.
Okay, I'll let Sean know that.
One on the town on the, I think that.
Do we do, do they do this now or do
We'll do that in council.
one each? It's just both on the same night.
We're back on Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. Sorry we took so long. We adopted our in-camera minutes, and that's what that was about. We have no committee, board, and external organization updates, information, listing, or correspondence items. No notice of motion, so could I have a motion for adjournment? Moved by Councillor Quinn, seconded by Councillor Miller, that the committee adjourn its proceedings at 6:58 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting. All in favor? Very
Good.
Carrie, we're staying live.
If you'd like, yep.
Might as well, I guess, wait. No sense. Stop our momentum.
I got announcements tonight.
Just need some seconders here.
Councillor Brennan.
Okay. And then,
Robinson.
okay. And the rail project. McGuire. And Jan, the adjournment.
Councillor McKenna?
Okay, and,
I just have the reports.
okay. Okay, I think we're ready to roll here. Welcome back to this meeting of Smith Falls Town Council for Monday, April 15th, 2024. I will open the meeting with our land acknowledgement. On April 15th, 2024, we acknowledge the sacred land of which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, and be mindful of generations to come. We've no amendments to the agenda, I don't believe, so I'll call the meeting to order at 5:59 p.m. We do a motion for the approval of the agenda with Councillor Brennan, please.
Move.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Robinson. Thank you.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that the April 15th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Brennan. The April 15th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'll ask for disclosure of pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest in general nature thereof. Seeing none, we have no approval of minutes. Council reports, updates, announcements, reports. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Worship. I have one report tonight, and I was unable to make the chamber meeting last week, but I asked Leslie to send me the minutes. At the chamber meeting on April 10th, there was a discussion regarding the need to have one central location for community events to be announced, and the chamber and DBA will look for grant opportunities to purchase digital signage that would achieve this goal. While trying to sell advertising space in this year's visitor guide, it became abundantly clear to Leslie that our small business community is experiencing a dramatic decline in sales revenue. The Chamber and the DBA are bringing back the SF local subscription boxes, which won the EDCO Award for Community Development in 2020, in the hopes of generating revenue immediately for the businesses. The town is now partnering on this project and contributing money for marketing. SF Local is a great initiative that gives 100% of the funds back to the businesses. I encourage people to visit the website to help support our local businesses. The website for this initiative is www.sflocal.ca. The Chamber and the DBA sent their 2024 Visitors Guide to the Ottawa Travel and Vacation Show, where it was very well received. Printing will be complete and ready for the opening of the Victoria Park Visitor Center on May 19th, 2024. And finally, Chamber staff had a meeting with Parks Canada to support an event application which has been submitted to them to hold Rib Fest in Victoria Park this year. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Robinson? Seeing none. Councillor McKenna.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just 2 updates from committees, the Climate Action Work Group and the Smiths Falls for All Committee. Climate Action Work Group has been meeting, and you'll know that we're working closely with our colleagues at Lanark County, and we are following national standards for municipalities. So there's 3 key milestones in the development of our Climate Action Plan. We're wrapping up milestone 1 probably this month, maybe into May. Milestone 2 will be from May till probably September, and then the final milestone will be from September to December, which will have, and each of those have very standardized deliverables on all those milestones. And you'll hear more about that because we have developed a communication strategy for council, for the public, and we'll be informing them as we go forward. The committee will also, we're doing a baseline to see what is our carbon output, not just as a corporation of the town of Smiths Falls, but as a community of the town of Smiths Falls. So again, standardized methodology on how you measure what a town like the size of Smiths Falls would produce in carbon. And then the plan, when it's completed at step 3, we would have actions and deliverables on how we're going to reduce that over the next, I think, the same as the federal government, 2040, 2030, there's milestones along the way. So it's, we're in a very busy part of that plan. That's climate action. And then Smiths Falls for All, again, met just last week. Manager Crowder made a great presentation about how the town's website can be, as it currently is formatted, be a portal into newcomers who are moving into Smiths Falls. And then she was also looking for ways that we could improve that as one of the methods of welcoming not just new Canadians, but any newcomer to Smiths Falls. And for our local residents too, just to get a sense of what's going on. And the other was, there'll be we're going to produce a survey, and we're in the work, that's in the design phase. And we're trying to determine what the newcomers to Smiths Falls in the last year or two, what are some things that we could have done better to make their reception, improve the reception to our community, make it more welcoming, and then going forward, what could the town and the community do? When I say the town, I mean the corporation of the town of Smiths Falls, but also writ large, our service clubs, our faith community, et cetera, our volunteers. So there's a number of events, including a newcomers picnic event coming up that we hope to plan early summer in our new town square. So very active committees. Stay tuned and we'll keep you up to speed.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor McKenna? No. Councillor Brennan, you had a report as well?
That's a report.
Announcements. Okay. Any further reports? I've just got a couple myself. Councillor McKenna and I both attended the Lanark County Community Services Corporate Services Committee meetings last week. Coming out of community services, probably the biggest takeaway was an additional support for the transitional housing program that's scheduled for the former Willowdale Retirement Center in town. And so everyone's probably aware the county had approved, I think it was $296,000 in funding, which was provincial dollars, be committed to Lanark County Mental Health, which is operating will be operating the Housing First model for Willowdale. And initially, it was going to be 11 rooms plus one room for one area for an office. And Lanark County Mental Health, in negotiating with the landlord, came back to the county indicating that there's additional funding needed. They're going to increase the room count to 13, which is a positive because I think there's obviously, I think about 70 people right now on the by name list who are indicating homeless in Lanark County. Those ones just on that list, not counting others who are not part of that list. So there's a fair amount of discussion about the whole initiative and the need for additional funding. And Emily Hollington, the Director of Community Services, was quick to really help committee members realize, of course, that this money is currently being spent largely in hotels. And by providing the funding for this project, obviously much better opportunity for more positive outcomes and diversion to different forms of counseling and treatment. And so the decision at the committee level was to provide the additional $120,000 to ensure this project's able to move ahead by mid this year. It's got to go to County Council for formal approval next week. And in corporate services, there is two things of note. I guess one, many may be familiar that the ambulance bay in Almont had burnt last year, and they're working with their insurance to have it rebuilt. But I also became, I guess, aware through this process that they have one ambulance that even after the renovation or the rebuilding of this facility, there'll be one ambulance that'll still be outside. And recognizing growth in the northern part of the county, there was a request to actually add a new 2-bay to the new construction for the synergies of doing it, the scale of doing it, economies of scale when doing it at the time of the other construction. So the price tag was shocking at $750,000 for a 2-bay ambulance garage, but essentially the requirements for emergency buildings are much higher than regular construction, and so that is the upside limit, but approval was given to support that initiative. And then another pretty hearty discussion on, there was a request by a new housing cooperative for county land at 99 Christie Lake Road, which is a piece of land that's between Lanark Lodge and the county administrative buildings. And so the county has quite a bit of space there. So there was a potential consideration for the housing cooperative that would want to do affordable housing in that space. But in the end, the recommendation from staff and the decision of committee was to retain that for future needs of the county. And the synergies of having a broader campus for Lanark County and recognizing while Lanark Lodge is adequate today, the day will come when they'll probably have to rebuild that facility or expand other county buildings. So it made sense to committee to retain that property for its own purposes down the road. And that's it from my reports. I've got, sorry.
Just gonna.
Go ahead, Councilor McKenna, yeah?
Just to add one piece to your housing, we learned last week that of the 37 housing managers in the province that deliver this, Lanark County is the only one without transitional housing. And so this will be the first for the county to get involved in housing first. So we thought it was new and avant-garde, but we're the last to actually develop something like this. So
just new to us.
New to us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That was a good point. Okay, a couple of announcements. Reminder, there's going to be no meeting on April 29th. That will be the 5th Monday of the month, unless staff decides something emergency comes forward near that time, but right now it's not scheduled. We're still recruiting membership for the following committees: the Planning Advisory Committee, the Municipal Heritage Committee, the Climate Protection Working Group, and the Old Home Week Task Force. So if anyone is interested in that, or if there's any youth who are interested in participating, applicants must be 16 or 17 years of age and Canadian citizens. We're looking for youth on the Smiths Falls for All, the Climate Change Action Working Group, and also the Municipal Heritage Committee. So anyone can reach out to Clerk Costello at kcostello@smithsfalls.ca or go on the town's website to find an application to apply. So we look forward to welcoming new committee members to these committees for the balance of this term. And that's it for announcements. I do have a handful of proclamations, not as many as last week, but still quite a few. Mental Health Week 2024. Whereas mental health is an essential part of everyone's health and well-being, whereas Mental Health Week has been hosted by the Canadian Mental Health Association in communities across Canada for over 70 years. Whereas all people in Canada need to promote, protect, and nurture their mental health. And whereas promoting social connection is an important aspect of human life and an effective way to protect mental health. Whereas in the past 3 years of the pandemic, our community members may have or still be experiencing further difficulties in maintaining their mental health and social connections. Now therefore be resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smiths Falls, hereby proclaims the week of May 6 to 12, 2024 as Mental Health Week in the Town of Smiths Falls. I encourage all citizens to join me in underlining the importance of social connection for mental health. Of course, that was the week past. The next one is the National Day of Mourning, April 28, 2024. Whereas every worker has a right to return home safe and sound at the end of each workday. The Town of Smiths Falls honors the millions of Ontarians impacted by a workplace fatality, injury, or illness. Whereas April 28th is observed across Canada and in countries around the world as a National Day of Mourning for workers killed, injured, disabled, or suffered disease as a result of work. Whereas the Town of Smiths Falls recognizes the importance of health and safety education through Occupational Health and Safety Act. Whereas by working together with employers, workers, and health and safety partners, we can prevent injuries and deaths to workers before they occur. Now therefore be resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smiths Falls, do hereby proclaim April 28th, 2024 as National Day of Mourning in the Town of Smiths Falls. And proclamation for Red Dress Day, May 5th, 2024. Whereas the Red Dress Project was created by Jamie Black as a public art installation in response to missing and murdered Indigenous women. Whereas the Red Dress Project began in 2010 and commemorates missing and murdered Indigenous women from the First Nations, Inuit, Métis, and Native American communities by hanging empty red dresses in a range of environments. Whereas the color red signifies the color spirits can see, color red is calling back the spirits of those missing and allows them a chance to be among us and have their voices heard. Whereas May 5th is a National Day of Awareness and honors Canadians missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirited people. Now therefore be resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smiths Falls, declare May 5th, 2024 as Red Dress Day in the Town of Smiths Falls, and encourage all citizens to take a moment and reflect on the missing Indigenous women and girls and those who are no longer with us. And the next proclamation is Drinking Water Week. Whereas the Town of Smiths Falls recognizes that water is our most valuable natural resource, whereas drinking water serves as a vital role in the daily life, serving an essential purpose to health, hydration, and hygiene needs for the quality of life for our citizens enjoy. And whereas tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy. And whereas the hard work performed by the entire water sector, designing capital projects, operators ensuring the safety and quality of drinking water, or a member of a pipe crew maintaining infrastructure communities rely on to transport high quality drinking water from its source to consumers' taps. Whereas the coronavirus pandemic has shone a light on the importance of drinking water for health. Whereas we're all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which current and future generations depend. Whereas the citizens of our town are called upon to help protect our source water from pollution, practice water conservation, and get involved with their water by familiarizing themselves with it. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smiths Falls, do hereby proclaim May 5th to 11th, 2024 as Drinking Water Week in the Town of Smiths Falls. And finally, Emergency Preparedness Week 2024. Whereas Emergency Preparedness Week is an annual event that occurs during the full week of May. And whereas a public awareness initiative has taken place since 1996 and is a collaborative effort undertaken by provincial and territorial emergency management organizations supporting activities at the local level in conjunction with Public Safety Canada and partners. Whereas the goal of Emergency Preparedness Week is to raise community awareness and to take the following steps to better prepare to face a range of emergencies. Know the risks, make a plan, and prepare an emergency kit. Where the safety of our community is the responsibility of each and every one of us, and we must prepare now for a safe and healthy tomorrow. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smiths Falls, do hereby proclaim May 5th to 11th, 2024 as Emergency Preparedness Week in the town of Smith Falls, and urge all residents to gain a better understanding of the need to prepare for the possibility of an emergency by knowing the risks, making a plan, and creating an emergency kit. Okay, so moving ahead with our agenda, we have no agenda items. We have two motions. Our first with Councillor Brennan, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Robinson. The Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls pass a bylaw to award tender 24PW012 to Landmark Structures Company for works associated with the installation of a new elevated water storage tank. And further, the council authorized the mayor and clerk to execute a contract with Landmark Structures Company to an upset limit of $9,496,000, excluding HST.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Well, we discussed this a little while ago, and we actually only got one bid for the water tower. However, Landmark is an industry leader and probably the only company capable of doing this type of quality work. They build them all over North America, so it's quite a price tag, but we look forward to getting that new water tower up.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. It's moved by Councillor Brennan and seconded by Councillor Robinson. The Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls pass a bylaw to award tender 24-PW-012 to Landmark Structures Company for works associated with the installation of a new elevated water storage tank. And further, the council authorized the mayor and clerk to execute a contract agreement with Landmark Structures Co. to an upside limit of $9,496,000, excluding HST. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Councillor McKenna, you have the next resolution.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McGuire, that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls support the Government of Canada's high-frequency rail project with a request for a rail station in Smith Falls.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Yes, this has been a long-planned high-speed rail that would run east to west, west to east from Quebec City to the beyond Toronto, with very few stops. The tentative plans are to have a rail stop in the Smith Falls vicinity. This would be a regional access point for travelers, and it's no secret that we would support this, and previous councils have supported this the plan to have a station stop in our community, and this is just reaffirming that, as it now is reaching some stage of planning that they're starting to think about where they actually will stop, and we would love them to stop here.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. It's moved by Councillor McKenna and seconded by Councillor McGuire. The Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls support the Government of Canada's high-frequency rail, in brackets HFR, project, the request for a rail station in Smith Falls. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have no bylaws, inquiries, and announcements. Councillor Brennan.
I have three actually, and the first one I'm really pleased to make tonight because the Recreation Hall of Fame Committee have decided on some inductees this year. So I'm happy to announce those tonight. The first one is Stu Smith. He's a former Montreal Canadian player and former player coach with the Smith Falls Ritos. And joining Stu would be his son, Brian. So Brian is a former AHL All-Star and member of the Detroit Red Wings. The third inductee is Tim Norris, who we all know is our decorated power lifter in Smith Falls. And finally, the 1973 Smith Falls Redmen football team, who were Lanark County champions at the time, and I think they had their 50th anniversary reunion last year, so that's a really great one, and I think the coach is still around, Bob McCullough. So the ceremony will take place at the arena upstairs on June 23rd at 1:30. So mark that on your calendar, Your Worship. We hope to have you there. So that's exciting because it's been 2 or 3 years since they've had that. So we look forward to that. Also, I just wanted to point out that this coming Saturday, the Heritage House is having their spring festival. On grounds, there'll be axe throwing, scavenger hunts, bouncy castles, junkyard symphony will be there. The volunteer firefighters are providing a barbecue, and the admission was just by donation. So hopefully a beautiful day and everybody come out to the Heritage House. And also, just want to put a plug in again for the Heritage House. On April 27th, our friends Ted, Mary, and Etterbridge at 2 p.m. will be doing a presentation on Mysteries of the Keyhole House. So it won't be a magic show, but they have a ton of stories about the history of their home on Brockville Street, and I've seen it, and it's captivating. So of course they love to talk about it, and so it's quite entertaining. So that's at 2 p.m. on the 27th. I think the cost is $10. That's it.
Thank you. Any further? Yes, Councillor McKenna.
Two more thank yous to the Smith Falls Rotary Club for the wonderful event Thursday night, which I went to, raising money for our local hospital MRI. The McMaster Leahy family put on a fantastic, it was sold out, excellent organization, and the Rotary did the town proud, and it was a wonderful event, so thank you. And second, thank the real volunteers, Rideau Environmental Action League, Councillor Brennan, Director Clark, and I get up on Saturday in the wonderful weather for preparing the forest floor for the 300 trees that will be planted this fall. So it's in Corbett Park. It was just, and the town staff had everything ready for us, the mulch, the wood chips. Local municipalities donated all the cardboard to put down, Gemmels Flowers gave the money. Like, it was just a great, if you wanted a feel-good event, that was it. So I hit 100% last week with the McMaster fundraiser, and yeah, it's great.
Thanks for that shout out for the Rotary, Councillor McKenna, but it was Councillor McGuire there and not me on Sunday in the rain. I think he mentioned me.
Oh, I meant to say McGuire, did I? Yeah. Did I say Brennan?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Well, you did the
Chris.
Rotary stuff.
Yeah,
So,
Chris was out in the rain, not me.
While we're at it, Jenny Davis was there too, doing a lot of heavy lifting, so
All right,
it
thanks,
was
Jenny.
great.
got everybody covered.
Okay, anything further? No? Motion for adjournment, Councillor Miller.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McKenna that this council adjourn its proceedings at 6:23 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor Miller and seconded by Councillor McKenna that this council adjourns proceedings at 6:23 p.m. Stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council. All in favor? We stand adjourned. Good night, everyone.